Before tonight's horrors unfold, drop a comment and tell us where you're listening from. Your support keeps the horrors alive. Let's begin. Some things are best left forgotten. Some things should never be rediscovered. The forest floor was covered with yellow leaves, making soft crunching sounds as Jay made his way through the thicket of trees. The trees were all adorned with the autumn leaves, rustling as the gentle breeze swayed the leaves on the ground. A babbles of a stream could be heard nearby, while many birds chirped overhead. The place has not changed, not one bit, thought Jay, inhaling the fresh air as sunlight fell on his face. It had been more than 10 years since the last time he came here. He smiled as the memories of him playing in the forest with his siblings came back. He remembered how they had so much fun playing in this forest, all four of them together. But it quickly turned into a frown as he remembered why he had come here. I must find it. Only then I can settle all this trouble. He started to march towards a very specific direction, trying to maintain a straight course. His backpack rattled as he took each step. He smiled as he recognized quite a lot of the forest environment. Aha! There's the pond where we used to go fishing. It has seen better days. Right. The cave. It used to be so mysterious back then. Turns out it's actually quite small, huh? Well, the great tree certainly hasn't changed. It still looks quite as tall as ever. I remember when Pratik was the only one who could climb it. The name of Pratik had brought quite a few memories, making Jay's smile disappear. Pratik, he muttered, before letting out a deep sigh. You were always the kindest. You helped me when no one would. You helped me with my studies, my sports, and my other problems. He smiled grimly, looking at the great tree. But it was not enough. Isn't that right, Pratik? The leaves rustled in the breeze, but no answer came. Jay's smile widened before he started to march again, deviating little from the direction in which he was heading. Although he smiled in the depths of his mind, something stirred. You came here for a reason, a voice in his mind told him. It is no pleasant work to be here. Now stop reminiscing and walk quickly. He walked for an hour before stopping to rest on a rock protruding from the ground. As he sat on the rock, he noticed some engravings on it. He thought he recognized it. It depicted 3 birds and a fox. The larger bird was pecking the fox while the smallest bird played with a stick carelessly. The other bird, a crow, however, was behind the fox, seemingly in support of the fox. Jay chuckled grimly before muttering, Santa. Her artistry still lingers on. Masterful artistry at such a young age. She was remarkable, always praised by everyone around her. But most importantly, she was a good sister. She never bothered me or with anything, always lost in her own world. He realized that some of the engravings he saw on trees before may not have been the work of bears as he first suspected, but rather the engravings of Santa. He smiled again, reminiscing their time in the forest. The sun was now overhead, casting its rays on the brightly lit forest. Nothing could be heard other than the steady crunching of leaves. The birds had stopped chirping. There was no more wind. Jay got up hastily before continuing his march. This is no time for reminiscing, the voice in his head repeated. You know what you did. You have no remorse. Why should I? Jay told himself, sweat trickling down his forehead. It was only because of him. You know this. It does not compensate for your actions. I did what I thought was right. That's all. Stop haunting my thoughts, Remy, he blurted out angrily, his voice echoing through the otherwise silent forest. The voice in his mind was gone, but Jay had a feeling that it still lingered on somewhere in the depths of his conscience. He closed his eyes and sighed before walking again. He had only walked for about 5 minutes when suddenly heard a pit-pat came from the depths of the forest. He jerked his head towards the direction and saw nothing but a few leaves dropping to the ground. The birds were chirping again. The breeze was back. The breeze may have been comforting at first, but now it sent chills down his spine. The chirping felt uneven and strange. Something was not right. He is still here, isn't he? He kept himself composed and kept going. The forest was getting denser, with trees of great sizes, although not as tall as the great tree he had seen earlier. Sometimes he would trip on branches sticking out of the ground, which he did not previously see, and on other times he would see something buzz by the corner of his eyes. The pit-pats had not stopped. The sun now looked east, casting long dancing shadows of the trees in the forest. Just as he was beginning to feel comfortable again, something happened that he was not expecting at all. Wee-woo! The slow whistling rang through the woods, sending chills down his spine. The pit-pats returned, this time getting closer. He quickly turned his head towards the direction of the whistle, but nothing greeted him other than silence. He knew that whistle very well. He could never have forgotten that. His mind drifted to his childhood in this very forest. He remembered how Remy, the oldest sibling of their family, used to bully him. Right here, in this forest, he remembered very well how he always embarrassed him in front of everyone. Remy would beat him up for no apparent reason. Although Pratik tried to help him, it was not enough. Santa never cared. Remy continued his onslaught with indifference. Ah, yes, the whistle. So many memories with that whistle. It was a call, wasn't it? Or rather a signal. So tell me, Remy, why did you bully me so much? He definitely saw something blur past his vision. You are still here, aren't you? He thought, stroking his chin. He remained somewhat calm even within the unease. Somewhere in the depths of the forest, a whistle could be heard as if in approval of his thoughts. His calmness was short-lived and he shifted uneasily. Silence filled the forest again. The breeze was now cold, yet sweat trickled down Jay's forehead. The sun was close to setting. Darkness was emerging from the depths of the woods. Jay put his bag down, the rattle echoing through the darkness. Unzipping the bag, he eyed the lighter and the gasoline can for a moment before picking up the flashlight from it. Zipping the bag, he started his way towards the direction he had been going for so long. He kept going, his heart racing. Every beat of his heart made his ears ring. He could sense it. Something was not right. He stopped, but the sound of footsteps didn't. He looked back and saw a glimpse of two small lights disappear into the darkness. His sweating intensified. He gripped his flashlight harder. Probably a fox. Caw! Jay almost dropped his flashlight. Damn the crows, why couldn't they caw in the morning? His recovery of courage was short-lived. He realized that there were prints of someone else's shoes near the trail he was following. No, no! He panicked, his hands trembling. If someone else finds it, I will be done. He fastened his pace, squinting as more shoe prints could be found. There were at least two more people who had been here recently. With each step, he felt a strange urge to look back. He looked back, sweat trickling down his neck. He defiantly saw something there. Wait, it was just a fox. Just when he was feeling relieved, a violent series of whistles began to emerge from all over the forest. He couldn't take it any longer. Jay broke into a run, panic grasping his mind. It was not long before he slipped and fell on his face. He lifted his face slowly. Darkness. Only darkness. The flashlight was broken from the impact. His heart was pounding on his ribcage. A pair of small glowing eyes watched him from the distance. Jay froze in place. I know I made a mistake. Don't hurt me, Jay shouted, tears streaming down his cheek. Please don't, Remy. I am your brother, for Christ's sake. The eyes disappeared. Jay did not know whether to feel relieved or to be even more scared. The voice in his head returned. This time it was aggressive. Sorry? Logically, Remy's harsh, deep voice cried. Sorry does not fix anything, Jay. Sorry does not fix how you left Mom to die. I will never forgive you after that. I know, Jay said, tears emanating from his eyes. But the question remains. Why did you bully me? Actually, let me rephrase that, Remy. Why did you abuse me? Maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation if you did not do it. There was a long pause. I could not let you get away with murder. I knew it was you. You started the fire. Mom died because of you. Jay slowly got up, his head throbbing from both the physical pain and the burning statements of Remy in his mind. I did not kill her. I will say that for the last time. Is that so? Remy's voice screamed in his mind. Then why in the love of God are we dead? You could have killed me. But why Pratik? Why Santa? Jay's heart fastened its pace. His voice began to stutter. But are you not here? He looked around him again, only to find the eyes staring at him. He blinked and it was gone. The voice was gone too. Only silence remained. Jay put his bag down quickly. He scrambled through it and brought out the lighter. Click! The fire barely lit the surroundings, but it gave him enough vision to continue going. It's too late to turn back now. A whistle came from the depths of the forest, as if in approval. He walked only for a few minutes when he abruptly stopped. The fire from the lighter was flickering intensely, despite the absence of wind. At one point, the flame leaped at his face as if to engulf him. Damn it, he muttered, turning off the lighter. He certainly did not want to die in a fire. As soon as he had turned off the lighter, a bone-chilling breeze brushed against his face. The crows were cawing above, and the crickets made their presence known with their noises. Click! Jay turned on the lighter again. The breeze went out instantly. The crows stopped cawing, and it felt as if the crickets were never there. This only confused Jay more. The fire started flickering again, but Jay kept going. The sound of heavy boots came from behind him. He tried his best to ignore it. Eventually, he stopped and let out a deep sigh. I made it, he muttered. His smile turned into a frown after he remembered what he had came here to do. Now they will never find this. Time to finish what I started. He looked down into a small pit. It was clearly man-made and looked completely out of place. Inside it were 3 body bags, each smeared with dirt. The smell was horrid. Jay almost vomited. Jay swiftly unzipped his bag and took out a face mask. He lifted out the gasoline can and held it in his hands. Pop! He opened the gasoline can and started to spill the oil all over the body bags. Even the mask was not enough to keep out the horrid smell. After the can was empty, he dropped it onto the heap of body bags. He sighed deeply and held out the lighter in his hands. Rest in peace. The lighter went out. Jay squinted his eyes and started the lighter again. Click. Nothing happened. Click, 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 thump. Jay couldn't ignore the footstep this time. Chills went through his blood as he turned to look back. There he was. The face couldn't be mistaken. There he was. The tall, muscular brother that he knew as Remy. Everything about him looked the same as it had when he had killed him. All was the same except for his eyes. Those eyes. They sent shivers down his spine. The white eyes glowed brightly. It was so bright, yet it did not affect the surroundings. Jay snapped out of the dreamy situation as Remy let out a blood-curdling shriek and started to walk towards Jay, his arms held out as if he was about to choke Jay to death. Wait, wait! Jay cried desperately. I can't explain. Please, stop. I can explain. Remy's phantom froze in place. I never started the fire. Well, actually, I did start the fire, but it was my fault. Jay slapped his hand onto his forehead. Well, it was my fault. That day, she was sitting by the empty pool while the barbecue was open. I wanted to play a prank like I always do. I fiddled around with it for a little bit. I did not expect it to burn. Santa saw all that. She did not try to stop me. A life for a prank, the ghostly Remy burst out. You were a teen by then. How could you be so childish? I did not expect it to burst out in flames. Shut up, you imbecile. Answer this for a change. Why did you come here in the first place? Why won't you let us rest in peace? Well, the police haven't bought it. They were looking for evidence. I don't want to get arrested. You do not deserve an arrest. Nothing other than death is enough to compensate for your actions. Now tell me this. Why did you kill Santa and Braddock? Why them? Jay closed his eyes and sighed. I could not stop myself. That feeling just sort of held me. The bloodlust. The pleasure. You are right, Remy. It was me. It was just a feeling. I knew the grill would catch on fire. Ever since Dad died, things were not the same. Pratik would help me, of course, but your abuse was too much. Then I am sorry, Jay, Remy said. I am sorry for everything. Jay opened his eyes and saw that Remy was gone. Jay sighed in relief. Thank you for forgiving me, brother, he muttered quietly. But then he noticed something. The forest was eerily quiet once more. Only this time there was also a strange crackling sound in the distance. Before Jay could comprehend what was going on, the whole forest echoed with a sound. The laughter of a girl. The chilly wind returned. The crows were back. Jay's head throbbed as the laughter grew closer. The cawing intensified. You really thought you could get away with all that? Remy's voice echoed in his mind. Jay squinted his eyes as the whistling returned. The whole forest seemed to be shaking. The trees were shedding their leaves as they shook. Don't keep death waiting, brother. It's about time that the bottomless, empty void that you call a soul is taken. Two glowing red eyes materialized from the darkness. Santa and Praddock were in front of him. Jay's breath caught in his throat, and he swiftly held out his lighter. Click! Click! The lighter glared with its flame. Back! Get back! Jay cried, thrusting the lighter at them. Pratik lunged at him with immense speed. Jay stumbled back. He fell right into the pit. The lighter fell from his hands, lighting the pit on fire. Jay's screams filled the air as the fire charred his skin. He looked up, watching the ghouls fade. The forest blurred itself, warping everything around it. As he screamed helplessly, the ghouls laughed menacingly. Eventually, the screams stopped, leaving only the crackle of fire in the otherwise silent forest, the forest of guilt. Finally, silence. The thought echoed in the remnants of Jay's mind. But they are still here. They will still haunt me. You will still haunt me, Remy. It was not the ghost that killed Jay that night. It was the guilt that overtook him. Some things are best left forgotten. Some things should never be rediscovered. Some actions can never be forgiven.